franchise friends, Simon here from FanRec Recruitment. A very warm welcome to you for another What's News in AI, and delighted to be joined by Mr. Woolard. Hello, Simon.
And hello, Simon. How are you?
Very well indeed. So what's news in AI this week?
Yeah, I've got a couple of stories over the last few days that I found quite interesting, and they do fundamentally, whilst not something that we may encounter in our daily lives in the short term, there are some aspects of it that will very much be part of the way we live our lives, 5-10 years into the future. And so it's just good to be a little bit of aware about what's going on behind the scenes if you're not. And you may, of course, find it interesting, and you can send in and ask questions if you want to know more. So a couple of subjects today. One is around Elon Musk, and the other is around the theme of digital identity. And I've got some screen shares, Simon.
Just go.
So the first subject I'd like to introduce is Tesla. And everyone knows Elon Musk when he's not doing things with SpaceX or jumping up and down on the stage with Donald Trump. But Tesla cars, very innovative. But over the past few years, and especially more recent times, he's spent a lot of time working on AI and artificially and automated systems such as cars and robots. And just this week, they had a bit of a show and tell of where the technology was. Now, this was a show and tell that was delayed from something that was supposed to happen back in July. And the actual experience of people who attend, a lot of guest VIPs and members of the public, it was quite a short affair, but nonetheless, some very interesting things that they're sharing with everybody. So the main one I want to talk about is Tesla's Cybercab. But if we can imagine that we will get to a place where the computer vision, which is what the car uses to understand the environment that's going around it, is to such an extent that it is hugely unlikely that it's going to have any kind of accident. The idea is that there's going to be these cybercabs. Now, the opportunity is the idea that actually a car that can drive itself automatically from A to B is actually something that we as retail or individual household owners could not only utilize, but also make a profit out of. And the simple idea is that 90% of the time when you buy and own a vehicle, it's either sitting on your drive or it's sitting in a car park somewhere. And of course, everybody gets in their car in the morning and off they go to work. I mean, clearly it's slightly different now with remote working, and that clumps up the roads and creates traffic jams and all that kind of thing. Well, what if those cars were only ever used on the road when people needed them? And it simply works like you would be able to offer your car for hire when you weren't using it. And if anybody requested it, so say it was parked on your drive, or it was parked to the car park somewhere, the car would then be able to automatically drive to wherever the other person needed picking up and then transport them to where they needed to be dropped off. Of course, when they need recharging, they can go back to a recharging place and recharge them. So that's the basic concept, that in the future, these cybercabs or robo-taxis are going to be a way for everybody to make a little bit of extra money out of their car, and there not to be so many on the roads, because you only need to use it when you need to use it. And I thought that was quite an interesting idea. Now, people may have a point of view, well, hang on a minute, when you own a car, it only does 12,000 miles a year on average, and if you use it every day, it's going to do 60,000, et cetera, et cetera. But the best way to think of it is a bit like Airbnb, where in the past, the idea of your own house being something that you rented out when you went on holiday to somebody else, is it really worth, is the juice worth the squeeze? But then what happened was people ended up buying properties in specific areas that could be used completely for Airbnb rentals. And therefore, where we use the word Tesla Cybercab here is the idea that some people might decide to get a fleet of these and to use them in the way that we've described, a bit like Airbnb owners do with Airbnb properties. And that could be quite an interesting business model in the future. But certainly, the main idea is that how do we more efficiently unclog the roads, not have so many cars out there, and reduce our overall energy footprint, and that people only use cars when they need to, and where they need to. So that was the first story that I thought was quite interesting. The next one is around UK Data and Access Bill, which sounds like a really dry subject, and it pretty much is. However, there are elements of it that are being built into the bill that are going to fundamentally affect us. And this is a particular subject that I've been on about for quite some time. And you can see on the left here, just a bit of context. This bill was touted by the government earlier in the year, and they were going to introduce it, and it got delayed, and people were wondering where it was. And it was just reintroduced through the parliamentary system this last week. It's got to go to the House of Lords. But circled there is point 2, digital verification services, which I've expanded up there. And this is also a bit of a follow-on to a TikTok that I made earlier in the year about filling in forms. But it's all part of the digital identity opportunity that we have. That creates a whole other subject of debate. But if I just quickly read here, a new framework for digital ID will be launched across the UK to assist with age verification online. These changes are likely to impact the role of human oversight in profiling and automated decision making. Businesses in financial services and digital verification must adapt to smart data requirements. And what the hell does that mean? We all hate filling out forms, and we go on websites and they want all of our information, and we've got to give them this and we've got to give them that. And it might even be the same organization, just on another form. You've already given them the information. You've got to do all over again. Now, the sharp end of the wedge is in financial services, of course, where you have to prove who you are and where you are, so you're not just making stuff up. But fundamentally, what is digital ID? Well, the one side of the argument is, I'm not going to have digital ID. I don't want the government tracking me. I want to be independent, yada, yada, yada. Now, that's obviously a very nice thing, but anybody that goes online, anybody that's a smartphone, anybody that walks down the street, you're already being tracked. If you may not think you are, but you are. And fundamentally, most of the time, it doesn't matter unless you're breaking laws or being tracked by Interpol. And actually, the benefits of having a digital identity, which they already do from birth in Estonia, offer so many different benefits, because all of the things that are personal to you, such as your passport, such as your driver's license, such as your house deeds, such as your qualifications, that you may not literally want to share with everybody, but you don't want to have to prove all the time that you've got them, are solved by digital ID. So your digital ID, you can see me down the bottom here, can have a whole bunch of things. Now, we looked at the idea of date of birth being one thing. Now, let's just talk about a key benefit of that. We keep seeing stuff about young people seeing content on the internet that's inappropriate and harmful. And we keep saying that we should take away their smartphones, or we should, hammer down on the social media companies. If your child or us as individuals have a digital identity that has a date of birth, it is a very simple process that whenever you're accessing any content, it's mandated that content must ask for your date of birth through digital identity. And if your date of birth as registered with your digital ID is below a threshold, then you're not going to see that content, harmful or otherwise. So that becomes a much simpler way to solve the problem that people seem to be running around in circles about, because there's this whole negative space idea about digital ID. So that's just one thing. But the others are things, of course, like applying for loans or applying for this or that on a website, where you don't want to give away the house. You want it to remain personal to you. And you said, I shouldn't have to type this in and show it. Well, technology exists called zero knowledge proofs that, in essence, access your digital ID through crypto hashing. And we won't get into that, but there's a fairly rudimentary diagram there that basically changes text into a massive long string, which is something that you cannot unscramble. And so when a website asks for your details, your ZKM basically is a trust box. And it says, yeah, you've asked for this and they've got it. So, they are who they say they are. They live where they say they live. They are the age that they are. And you're not getting that information. You just need to know that's true. So it's pretty much like, the trusted person who you never doubt saying, yes, they are truthful. And that way, you get access to things without having to give up all of your information, or only giving information that is necessary to access that content or that service, whether that's a bank or something like that. And even then, it's crypto hashed and it isn't revealed, so you don't have a security issue in the years to come. So the whole future potential of digital identity brings so many different opportunities and benefits. Nobody likes to read terms and conditions, which are the ones at the end of the day can also trip you up. They always refer to the small print. All of that can be handled through a digital identity, and you can be kept informed. So this is just a long way around, or a bit more detail in saying that digital verification services are going to be a benefit to society as and when we as individuals want to take them up. As I said, there are some countries that already give digital IDs at birth, and these are ways, these are things that people can use throughout their lives to access the services they need to without giving away all of their information. So that is it, really. If you think it's a good idea, or you don't think it's a good idea, it'd be good to hear from you. I thought that was really interesting.
Okay, listen, thank you very much indeed. That is very interesting. Be keen to see how that develops for sure. But that's great, Simon. Listen, thank you very much indeed, as always. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and giving us an insight to some of the things that are happening at the moment. And yeah, feel free to reach out to Simon directly through the Fran AI page, of course, with any questions or if you need any further information. But Simon, until next week, thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate all your good advice and good humor, of course.
Yeah, we'll keep that off of this channel.
All right, mate. Take care.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you soon. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.